Yeah, I think everyone did see the news. Badger got hacked somehow. I did present Badger as a research call, so yeah. But it's not. It's more an infrastructure hack. So somebody get access to the web front end or web page and injected some code, and so people allowed like a smart contract or an address to make transaction out of their token. So it's not on the smart contract layer. And yeah, looking forward what's going to be revealed. Yeah, what the incident shows. Looks like they got access to the 2FA code, or yeah, it's everything is quite unclear, but it's by quite big. I think it's 120 million or so around this. And yeah, we will see if they recover. Of course, it's a big hack. But this is something you can, it has to do with the, basically, I think it has, maybe we see, but it has to do with the operations, how they handle the stuff on the website or on the web infrastructure, basically. But it's not on the smart contract side. And yeah, there's a lot of confusion about this because a lot of people don't understand what's going on. Yeah, I hope nobody's hit by this in this room now. Okay, so I kick it off. Today is the 9th Boule research meeting. It's the 2nd December of 2020. And I will talk, first I will talk about the more administrative stuff and ongoing votes, and then we will go into the research. Yeah, there are many votes ongoing, and I start with the simple one. The simple one is that now we redid the Choose and Maple vote, and the main reason was we didn't get a lot of votes because of Thanksgiving. And what we changed now, you can vote during the call. So there's been idea to simplify voting, that we every time the project will the project's vote about the project will go till the end of the call. So you can vote now on the chosen Maple call project, which we repeat because of Thanksgiving, and also the Klima and DAO and Saddle and vote is also ongoing. So if you didn't vote until now, you can vote now on this project. Then we have the big tokenomics change, which most of you are informed. This is a vote for Aladdin token holders, and yeah, we have like a big yes there until now. It's like 5 million and plus yes vote, and only 55K no vote, so one single person vote no until now. And then we will put up a vote, and this is a new discussion. We have the idea that we should a little bit change the incentive for the Boule, basically, and we want to cut out 150K for the Boule, from the Boule side, Aladdin token, which we distribute normally every epoch. An epoch is like 2 weeks. And the idea is there that we cut out 150K from this pool, and we want to incentivize Boule members who do more for Aladdin than just yeah, the duties they have. So and this at the end, I guess there will be a vote about if these members if the Boule members do more than is just the basic who is required, there will be a vote about their about the Boule, about these members, and then yeah, we will dispute this. And we don't have a very clear plan. This is still just discussion how we should do this, but I think we need to see more engagement from the Boule members, basically, because yeah, I think we all are the best messenger for Aladdin, and we're going to vote about this in a LD vote. So LD token holders vote about this, and one reason about this is that it's better to vote if it's more decentralized, if all the Boule if if stuff, if even for the Boule members is voted as Aladdin token, because otherwise it could, it's less decentralized. And there's in the forum, there's a short description what we want to do. So read it up. We're going to vote about this maybe starting tomorrow, and it will at least go for 3 days. And the main reason is we do this is that we need to get our message out the change tokenomics basically, and we are fast in this. So the idea is that even if the vote is ongoing, but the idea is that we can push out the change. It should be mid-December, so before Christmas it should be done. The contracts are at the moment in audit, and then I think we can, if there's any question, you can ask now, or about anything about this.
Martin, just curious, who's doing the audit on the contracts?
We have engaged PackShield to do this.
Yes.
Cool.
And
Thank you.
we're in the process to engage another one as well. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. This is ongoing, and we hope, it's fine, and then we're going to adjust the things with coming back and then going to the wild. So just a heads up, next week, this is next week's research call, will be 1 hour later next week. And the main reason is next week we had Adam and Sanil, and they live on the West Coast in the US. So next Boule research meeting will be 1 hour later. So said that, so I think we go into the regular meeting, and I think Thomas is presenting us National, and I think go ahead. And then afterwards we have Jason, who talks about Bancor V3. So thank you, Thomas, for joining us, and go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Awesome. So one moment here, just get it pulled up. It's hidden behind everything. As Martin said, presenting Notional. I'll just kind of start with the very, very high level for folks who maybe aren't familiar. It's a fixed yield product, kind of similar to Element, but they kind of achieve it through some different mechanics, achieve a similar outcome through different mechanics. Right now, you can see it's just supporting these assets. They're a little earlier stage than Notional. Have raised 10 million and are off and running, but really are probably what I think just over 2 years old. And point being, they just launched V2. So there's a lot that happens under the hood, particularly in regards to their partnership with Compound and some other things that I can dig into. But I think one thing I really like about it, just from a pure product perspective, is they've made it very, very simple for the user, despite a lot of other things happening kind of behind the scenes in the smart contract layer. So going, a little further, their TVL has just popped, I think probably partially or primarily because this is effectively when they launched their second version, as well as the Compound partnership. So they probably got some press. They also increased their yields, etc., through like both the incentive mechanism and the Compound partnership. And so without getting into the mechanics, just covering purely kind of the benefit and the benefits to users or lenders and borrowers. I'll probably loop back to this because everyone, after we go through the mechanics, we'll understand more clearly where this comes from. But the biggest one, I think, is just that it provides a higher yield on stablecoins without the risk of impermanent loss, particularly compared to Compound and Aave. So ran through, they've got like a really pretty calculator on their site that you can, go punch in the variables and see what kind of returns you'd get. But ultimately, this is it. We just scraped it real quick for clarity and for a good overview. And so you can see, if you want to lend DAI, you're getting obviously much higher rates than you would at a Compound or Aave. I think Compound's at 4% today, so 2.5 times their rate. And again, still without the IL risk. And then of course you can actually, so that's all this is all the fixed rates. I should have marked it as such, but this is all fixed, which is great, right? Less risk, etc. You can also participate directly in the pool, and you end up with 17%, which is much better. A big chunk of that is based on their note, which is their governance token note yield. And so that's obviously variable. It's also dependent on the value of note, et cetera. But there is, so greater risk and reward on the liquidity pool incentive. So real quick, I'll just kind of explain, the product overall. It's pretty straightforward. It's a borrowing and lending platform. And again, straightforward from the perspective of the user, a lot going on under the hood. You can lend, of course, across these assets. They plan on adding more assets in the future, but wanted to keep it simple for their kind of initial expansion. And then, of course, you can borrow the same assets, and then you can provide liquidity to those pools. As I mentioned, Note is the governance token. This is a recently launched token, so I think it's not a super active community, is kind of what I gathered so far. So I actually went through, did a test lending transaction, and you can see, just to give everybody a sense of what's going on when you actually lend, just did 100 USDC. The gas was more than the loan, but effectively, you pending transaction, and then you end up with a loan, right? So it's very simple in appearance. You have a maturity date, and you can obviously then withdraw your loan at any time, because effectively what's happening is your counterparty is not a borrower. Your counterparty is the liquidity pool. And so the other kind of unusual element, because of their second version and the partnership with Compound, is all of this. This is just a snapshot of the transaction from Etherscan. And so what's actually happening is you deposit your USDC, but then they're actually immediately depositing in Compound and then pulling that CUSDC, and that's what's going into the liquidity pool. So from the user's perspective, you have and are interacting with USDC, but basically everything and immediately gets translated into the C token, depending on the base asset. And then real quick, I'm going to bounce back just because I think it's an interesting point, and it helped me kind of frame up the entire product. This is actually a quote from the CEO. I watched a quick interview with him. He thinks of it, the entire product, as less of borrowing, lending, and more as buying and selling cash in the future. So really it's, you're taking your USDC today and you're trading it for USDC in the future. And obviously you're getting a bit more. So it's, again, similar to Element in that sense, but that was a nice, clean summary of how the product works. So then you get into, I guess, on the lending and borrowing side, this is where it gets more complicated, but none of this is exposed to the user. When you actually are lending or borrowing, what's truly happening, similar with the Compound token, how that's happening in the background, it's getting you're lending a C token, or you're depositing a C token into the pool instead of the actual base asset. Similar to that, what's actually happening under the hood, again, not exposed to the user, is you have these Fcash tokens. And I'm realizing I skipped over one point. So there's effectively 5 tokens really that are part of this, just your base asset, right? Which would be USDC, etc. Whatever the token is, DAI, etc. So then you have Note, which is just the governance token, and their incentive yield or incentive token that they use for liquidity providers. This is N token, similar to a C token and Compound. And then Fcash is basically when you lend and or borrow, they're also minting tokens that they consider as a category is called Fcash. And that's both a positive and negative cash in the future. So if you're lending, you're then given a positive Fcash token. And that's effectively what, and again, none of this is exposed to the user. So it's all more simple, but these are your Fcash tokens. It's actually the underlying asset, like kind of coupled with the time. So for example, if in my loan scenario, I lent USDC, and then I'm also minted these Fcash tokens, which are USDC at a certain time. And so, I minted, let's say I did 100 USDC, then I get 105 USDC December 31st tokens back. These are NFTs, actually, they're ERC 1155s. So anyway, some more detail there. They're transferable technically. Right now, they don't have a UI to do so, but they are technically transferable. So you can buy and sell these positions immediately, and they're working on the UI. But point being, that's kind of this category of Fcash tokens are these the underlying asset plus the time in the future. Getting back to their buying and selling cash in the future comment. And so effectively, then what is happening is you end up with if you're lending, again, you have your positive Fcash balance, and that's what you're redeeming eventually for your return, which is your generates the fixed interest. The opposite is, of course, the borrowing, which is just the negative. Pretty straightforward, right? So if you're borrowing, you then have a negative Fcash that you need to redeem, and because obviously you owe that money instead of receiving the interest, you're paying the interest. And then the other thing I wanted to cover, LPs is also pretty straightforward. The one thing to call out is everything is fixed rate, except if you're a LP, because there's just a number of, there's two reasons. Both the variable rate you're getting when you are an LP, it consists of two things. It actually consists of the compound lending rate as well as the trading the trading fees that you're generating, just like a normal LP, just as if you were an LP on Uniswap. So when you deposit DAI, that's all you see, right? You're a single asset LP in their pools, but then again in the background, they're immediately turning it into CDAI. They deposit that CDAI into their liquidity pool. So then you are earning your compound lending interest rate and and then the trading fees, of course, and then you end up with the variable. And so kind of looping back around to the yields, you can see the LP rates are pretty good. 17% as of, I think it was today or last night. And so that's solid. It's variable, of course, and then again, dependent on the note governance token. So I think I'll kind of pause there because I ran through a bunch and want to give everybody a chance to speak, ask questions, etc. But I think the big takeaways that I covered at the beginning are these, right? So you have for any given user, particularly a DAO, a company, people who have actual treasuries, you have the ability to have way less risk in terms of you're managing your cash and your treasury needs while generating yield off of your treasury. You have a much higher yield on stable coins without the risk of impermanent loss. And then there's some other kind of more like esoteric benefits, of course, in regards to, they're effectively building an interest rate curve, which is really great because you have the different tenors or the different maturities and different yields. So you have those yield curves. And then, again, kind of a baseline for risk-free returns, similar to treasury bonds, if you could consider it quote unquote risk-free. There's obviously smart contract risk and some other things, but it's a pretty good baseline, a good baseline for the space. And then and then this is kind of almost repetitive from the above, actually. So I'll pause there and open it up for discussion.
Thanks. So I forgot to ask, are you involved in this project? So do you hold a token, or are you an investor to this?
No, actually none of the above.
Okay.
I've been in touch with the founders, but nothing formal.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't know.
uh,
Ask, please. Yes.
Yeah, I just had a couple questions about the rate is determined algorithmically by the protocol for lending. Is that correct? And then does the end token is referred to as a liquidity token? Is it? It's not actually subject to a permanent loss, right? It's because it's just parked into a compound.
Correct. If I'm like understanding your question correctly, yeah, the end token is really just the redeemable, the token you can use to redeem your assets from the liquidity pool. So kind of similar to your point, because it's just parked in compound. It's not. Yeah, there's no impermanent loss on that underlying asset.
Gotcha.
And real quick, well, if anybody has any other questions, obviously happy to jump in. Like, kind of similar. I actually watched Hassan's presentation on Element as well. Not surprisingly, I think this falls into basically the same category for Aladdin DAO users and people in the community, particularly because it's obviously not a massive degen yield, right? It's not the crazy high risk, high reward type of play, but I think it's for a subset of your portfolio, ideally, as a user, where you have stable coins, you can park them, relatively low risk, get a solid yield, better than a lot in the market, as compared to Compound or Aave, or trying to be an LP with a stable coin in a pool where there is impermanent loss. So I think it's kind of a bit of a niche use case, but one that I don't want to say should be, but very well could be a part of anybody's given crypto portfolio.
I see somehow it's like a hedge against the bear market somehow. It could be, because then rates will go down on other things as they did like last, between
Exactly.
the DeFi summer and this cycle. We did see that rates go very near to zero maybe, and this could be a hedge for this basically.
Yeah, excuse me. And I mean, this is not for individuals as much, what I'm about to say, but primarily I think for organizations and for DAOs, this would be incredible, right? Because you could calculate that you have the ability to cover certain OpEx costs, right? If you're paying your guilds or your swim teams, or the different like sub DAOs, the teams working on things, you could cover the costs for various staff or operational costs, just based off the interest, and know that you have it covered for 6 months, and then of course roll those loans over, and just it creates a lot more less risk, less volatility, a lot more certainty into certain models, which I think is really great for organizations. As we all know, Web3 and DAO tooling and all of it is very flexible and great, and it's great in that sense, but there's also a lot of uncertainty that I think causes a lot of extra work for organizations, constantly reacting to markets, etc. So I think it's a massive tool for that. And I don't, not financial advice, but I think generally speaking, the fixed interest or fixed rate products like this and Element, etc., they're going to be, I imagine they're going to be very large once people kind of catch on, and there's like some of that market education and people realize some of the use cases where they can benefit, and it'll be a boring but very infrastructure, like foundational product for the space overall.
Yeah, but I see that the screen is now open. Why is the lending and borrow rate so close? Normally you see more difference. It's like if you on 10K, it's just 1%, or
yeah. So you'll see they're actually identical. 10.9 and 10.9, 11.4, and this one, yeah. Usually they're actually identical. And I didn't dig into the actual model, but I know that's they're the team's revenue model and the protocol's kind of revenue model. I know they take LP trading fees as well, similar to a Uniswap. So I think
Okay.
actually, as I say it out loud, I think that's where they make their spread, and then they've intentionally made the lending and borrowing rates are identical. Typically, I guess there's a 1% difference here, but I thought they were identical because that's actually something that they covered off in this interview that I'd watched as well. Was that they match them for lenders and borrowers, and there's no structural spread in the product.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I think in a market downturn, I'm not sure about this, but if you hold the NFT, then in a market downtown, you can sell it, to the open market, because then you have something everyone wants, because you don't get this API then in a bear market on other platforms, so you can sell the position basically.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So just add a point. So on the contributor call we had yesterday, right? And I think the contributors talk about the importance of, Aladdin DAO allocate meaningful percentage into stablecoin yield asset, right? So we can just navigate through, all market conditions. And so we have got, a number of stablecoin yield products, coming through the research meetings. I think starting from, the Onion money, and then and then Rari Capital, Element, and Notional, right? Should we have a comparison across these products, right? So how we can just, optimize the risk-adjusted return we can get across these protocols. And also, we need to take duration into consideration as well. Or should we just, bring them all on board, right? Or we should, have some comparison, just an analysis on, which are, the ideal one, the optimal structure for us to bring on.
Yeah, it's a good point. I mean, I think the comparison would be interesting for Aladdin, of course, and then also I think for everybody who's considering the different stablecoin products, particularly because there's obviously the yield to compare, but then there's kind of the more strategic elements, for lack of a better term, right? If you want to set it and forget it, or if you're going to be actively managing and want to, using the element as an example, it's like if you want to be selling your yield tokens or restaking those, and kind of like what's the yield strategy for each of the individual products, because they're obviously different given the different tokenomics behind them. But anyways, I'm just kind of in a long-winded way saying would love to see that, and happy to contribute, particularly on the notional side.
Yeah, Thomas, great presentation. I definitely would advocate for Notional being a high priority for us to be considering. And yeah, I mean, between this and there's some stablecoin opportunities we alluded to with Element. I know one of the advantages to Notional is just that they have a token now, and so you are earning their governance token, which I think has a fee capture mechanism. I'm not entirely sure. I need to go back and check it out, but if it does, that obviously gives it somewhat of an advantage over Element. But there's also, I mean, it's clear as day Element will have a token in the future. There's no way that any of the investors would have invested in Element without a token coming in the near future. So that's exciting. And then it also brings back, while we're talking fixed yield, since we aren't, I think, as concerned about EVM compatibility, I would love to compare all of this with the Terra anchor rate, because we could earn that 19.5% stable rate. And there's still some advantage if we wanted to ever do Orion in the future, if we wanted to bet on the Orion token. But I think just the anchor rate, it stands out. And I have I'm not an anchor holder or investor. I think that 19.5%, which is intended to hold for years, is insane. So anyways, great job on this, and thank you for highlighting it.
Yeah, no, thanks. I was actually, your point on the the note governance token is definitely definitely a good one, because I was going to call out when I woke up early this morning. I'd whatever, some whale, offloaded like $300 million of the token or something like that, causing this big price drop. Obviously, I should have acted from my phone. But so I was going to say that it's probably pretty likely that there's going to be a bounce back if you were going to participate and earn some note. Now would be the time, but it's already obviously returned. So yeah, so it was just a quick aberration, but I was about to call that out. Cool.
Yeah, thanks. It looks like that somebody of the Notion is looking our presentation or your presentation on YouTube, and in YouTube they made a comment that they take 50 basis point trading fees on each trade. So that's
for the revenue.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, there you go. That's good to know. Thank you, live YouTube viewer.
Yeah, somehow, yeah. You have a stream to YouTube. Also, I also think it's not confidential because you have the confidential mark on your sheet, but maybe it's an old sheet
over
you
here.
took. Yeah, it's reading confidential in that.
Yeah, I'm not even part of the team. No, I think it was just from copying and pasting slides from somewhere. Yeah,
it's an old slide. Okay, so I don't know if there are other questions. If not, we will switch to Jason.
Okay, so I'm going to share my screen.
Yeah, thank you, Thomas, for this. Yeah, it's a very interesting project, I think. Yeah, it's
thanks.
also good to have like all these different ones, to compare and to see what's going on in this market. And just Jason, just a second, what I forgot before on my part is that we have Jeff Tang who applied to be a replacement for Ryan Kim, and he's on the forum, and he's a replacement on the Boule because Ryan Kim he never contributed, and we will go into a vote about this too. Starting tomorrow, I guess, yes. And we vote all. First, I had the intention that Boule members should vote about this, but somehow also because of the concern of the distribution of the votes, we're going to an all Aladdin vote, and so just that I forgot. Now the stage is open for Jason with Bancor.
Yeah, thanks, Marty. So this is my first time introducing project. Bancor is actually it's not a new project. It has a very long history. So just a few days ago, they have an announcement of releasing version 3. And I also noticed DeFi Dad has a live stream yesterday, introducing some new interesting features from the version 3. So I'm trying to more from like a developer's perspective, because I'm trying to find the new contract, but they haven't released it. So maybe the discussion today about version 3 could be somewhat general. And in the beginning, Martin talking about the budget DAO. The budget DAO has attacked because the front end issue, I guess, because the user just approved to a wrong address, to the wrong user. Actually, this happened to Bancor like two years ago. Not sure exactly what years. Maybe it's 2018. So it's also like some people approve to the wrong user, and the hacker tried to steal a decent amount of money from bank network. That time, DeFi is still not a big thing, so the total amount is not very big. But after that, there's no. I think Bancor for now they don't have like a very severe incident so far. So let's start from the history from Bancor. So they started from 2017. So the version 1, it was started with ICO from they raised a lot of that was 390,000 Ethereum, but actually Bancor is the first modern DEX with a concept of AMM. The core mechanism introduced by Bancor is firstly they were called constant reserve ratio. So this idea is very similar if you know Uniswap. So it's like if you have a somewhat XA token and YB token. So the spot price is X divided Y, and the bonding curve. They have some. They can define the weight of different assets. So the bonding curve is somewhat similar to balancer. And later they changed the concept name to connector weight. All the trading pairs should have the native token BNT tokens. So you cannot have like it's like a Uniswap version 1, I guess. So in Uniswap version 1, every token should be swapped with Ethereum first, and in Bancor you have to use BNT. And so if you want to bootstrap your liquidity, the team should have first purchased some BNT tokens, and they can start a pool on Bancor. But the liquidity farming was still not a thing. So I think that could be a reason like why Bancor V version 1 fall behind some new projects, so like Uniswap and SushiSwap. And another issue back in that time is in Bancor there's a lot of arbitrage. So whenever anyone trade, you can back run, front run. There's more arbitraging can be done comparing with Uniswap. So in Bancor version 2, the team started to like using some external price oracle to automatically liquidate the position. But that time we don't have Chainlink, so the price oracle is not as good as nowadays. So this brings us to like Bancor version 2.1. It was started like from last year. It's it's a restart, reboot. I think it's more like a reboot from of the old project. And Bancor in 2.1 version, they introduced some like new concept, which is very distinct in Bancor itself. So one is a single-sided liquidity, and another one is impermanent loss protection. And finally, they try to introduce a new designed token economics for their own tokens. So for single-sided liquidity, it was designed like, so for any liquidity pool, if you deposit some tokens, the protocol will mint new BNT tokens. And if the LP removes the token or there's a trading fee generated from the trading pair, the same amount of a BNT will be burned. But however, obviously we should have a limit here. So this cap is managed under the Bancor's governance. So they can decide like for how many BNT we should mint for a specific trading pair. So when you try to deposit, you will notice that there's a space available here. So this will tell you like how much tokens you can still deposit into the trading pair. So as I said before, each trading pair consists with a token and the BNT. So there's no direct token to token pair as Uniswap. So in Uniswap V2, right? But actually, there's a little benefit here. So if you try to supply liquidity with a token, you can earn fees from all the virtual pairs. So for example, if you supply ALD as liquidity, whenever a user trades from Ethereum or USDT, you are always collecting the trading fees by providing the liquidity. Another important feature is impermanent loss protection. This was designed for long-term stakers. So the basic idea is if you stake some tokens, for example, if we stake 100 ALD as liquidity for at least 100 days, So when I withdraw, I can guarantee to have a 100 ALD out. So to be eligible for the protection, I have to stake for at least 30 days. And after 30 days, I will increase by 1% daily and finally reach 100% after 100 days. But actually, there's no, the question here is like, who is covering the loss? Because there's no magic. So part of the trading fee is going to our insurance fund. And for any LP who withdraws early, like if you withdraw early before 30 days, the protection fund for you will contribute to the global insurance fund. And if no fund is, because the compensation is in the form of the token itself, if there's no token to cover the loss, the bankers network will mint new BNT tokens to cover cover the loss for users. So in the end, the BNT holders will cover in the last result. As we can see from the Dune analytics, the protective value actually grows quite a lot. Banker network, they have a very good performance after March this year, and we have like 800 million under the banker protected. But this only applies to the whitelist pools. So if you're providing liquidity, you should always check if there's a shared icon to the left. As we discussed the two features, we noticed that first, we have a limit, like in every pool, like for how many BNT we should mint. And another one is which pool we should cover for the implement loss risks. So if we have too many pools, the whole system will under the risk of like if a price change a lot with some bad performance tokens, all the BNT holders will suffer a great loss. And later, they also designed a system quite like a curve. So if you stake BNT, you get a VBNT, and you can use VBNT to vote for all these features, like the limit, the trading fee rate, which we should whitelist, and you can also vote like how many VBNT we should buy back from the trading fees collected. And also you can stake the BNT directly into the pool. By staking, the pool can have more space available for users to provide liquidity from stable coins or other tokens. So this can increase and bring more liquidity as for a specific pool. But I noticed this issue here, like the BNT price and the VBNT price actually it's not pegged quite well. It's the VBNT just rise a little bit after in the last few days. This could be the recent price drops, so people are withdrawing liquidity. So I'm not sure like how this will affect, but just notice this difference in the prices. So far, so we can come up with some like what will be the challenges for bankers. So first, banker brings the concept like if you can easily manage, you can easily be a liquidity provider, especially if you have stable coins, but you just deposit it into any pool you like. But the issue is that's too many people want to stake their stable coins. So the yield is not the yield is not quite good compared with other pools. And another issue is as said, sometimes there will be no space for you. Also, the Banker's total value locked is still falling behind with Uniswap V2 and V3. And also the whole governance is always need a process. So like if you're adding a new token to Banker, you have to wait to be whitelist, and so the pool can be covered for the IL loss. So this would take a few days. So sometimes the Banker cannot respond to the new tokens very quickly. And also the protection, as we said, it's usually the stable coins with tokens will bring much of the impermanent loss. So if the system brings too many stable coin pairs, it'll be a pressure like to the insurance fund. So I was trying to find if version 3 can be can fix some of these issues here. For now, we can have the preview of the roadmap, and for the contract on the GitHub, they're saying they're claiming to bring the new update to the repo. So I'm still waiting to see the new contract. By version 3.0, they have all these new features, but I was trying to understand from like a developer's perspective, like thinking how they would do it. So these are all assumptions before seeing actual code. So first, for the instant IO protection, to my guess, they would have like a ledger to track the LP position for every users, and so the experience might be like if you are more familiar with SSPL or Olympus-DAO, you don't need to like restake because the system automatically restake your tokens to the pool. And so when you withdraw, the value will be reflected on the amount of tokens that you can withdraw from your initial deposit. And by the concept of omnipool and infinity pools, this concept should be very similar, like balancer V2. So before in Banker, you have to deposit token in different pairs. But now they should have like a new token vault. So all the tokens will be deposited into the same vault. The BNT stakers can benefit from actually all the virtual pools. So for example, if you stake BNT, all the trading pairs from BNT were collecting fees for you. And for the whole, and also for the Banker itself, it should be much easier to manage the cap. So before you have to like specify the limit for different pools, but for now you can just set a global cap. That should be much easier for the governance, and also this will reduce some gas costs, because before you have like if you're trading from one token to another token, there's 2 token transfers between 2 contracts, but for now it is only 1 contract. So this so again, this is very like Balancer V2. So if you're familiar with Balancer, the benefits should be also quite similar. Another idea here is auto compounding, dual rewards, third party IR protection. I think all these concepts are related with. So before, if you stake into the Banker pool, you can only get a reward like with BNT. But for now, it allows a third party to also incentivize the trading pool. So this would more like a curve to some extent. So if you're mining, if you're staking in a pool, the third party can add their token as a reward for the users. And all these rewards will be automatically staked and calculated. So this is much easier to manage. And so the whole experience will be also quite like a curve, I guess. So they're also claiming to have a multi-chain support. So this is a must-have for now. So we have a lot of L2 projects, and so this I think this is true. We're waiting to see like bankers adding to different EVM chains. So some pros and cons here. I think the only cons right now is we're still waiting for more disclosure, and we need to see the actual contracts to understand the new design. So some of these are my guess like how they would do that. I think the process first is it should be much easier to use Bancor. You don't need to restake. You don't have to worry about the IR protection because for now, even if you stake for 1 day, you still be covered. And also the project will be more gas efficient. Another thing for the Bancor itself is the governance process should be much easier. So if you set a global cap, I think it could be more easier to add a new token. And also the whole design can incorporate many. I think they incorporate many good designs from other projects. So for example, the third-party protection and dual reward. It could be. So I think it can grow to some project nested protocol like Convex. So it had a lot of I think it's a lot of potential here. So for Aladdin DAO, I think first we could have a new yield farming choice option. So I think I think if V3 is released, there'll be like more pools with third-party rewards. So we can put some stablecoins from Aladdin DAO user to yield farming on Bancor with all these new pools. And as I said, there could be some projects like Convex grow on top of Bancor V3. That in that case, we have a more opportunity here for Aladdin DAO users. And another thing is for Aladdin DAO project itself, we can use the same opportunity to bootstrap Aladdin DAO liquidity on Bancor. This would also be a great a good chance for Aladdin DAO users. That's it. So
thank you
any questions?
very much. Yeah, I follow Bancor since years, or really since years, and it's interesting what they're doing right now. I think the impermanent loss, they have one. The 100-day impermanent loss have one of the main differentiators against other protocols. And I'm still critical because what you do then is you socialize the impermanent loss set somehow. Yeah. And I have been in contact with Nate sometimes, but I think it's very nice about this 100-day impermanent loss that it deliquifies the capital. If you take it out and then you want to come again, you have to wait again. And now they're killing that and do it like with 0 days. And looking how this reflects on the TVL, because then you can take it out and come again, and you have the same effect basically. But I was thinking, and I did like ask Ned, like, I don't know, 2 weeks ago, I had like the idea that if you look at the normal farming where you just pay for standing liquidity, how it has been done in the past, and then if you look on the bonding stuff with now the new kid on the block, and should be a good idea. I think their idea that you can, I think they still choose between pools with impermanent loss protection and pools without. But I guess what they going to provide is that the project themselves can make the impermanent loss protection for their users. And I guess this has a lot of potential because this means if you're a project and you have like a weak coin and you don't get voted in by the governments of Bancor to have impermanent loss protection, you can do it yourself. And you only pay for the impermanent loss who is happening in the pool. And you don't pay it for like everyone who is in the pool. And I guess this, if it really works out, I guess this is it's a very good product to have, basically.
Yeah,
because
I think this feature is very important because
yes,
it has a new source to cover the impermanent loss.
Yes, yeah, because then the project themselves can cover only the impermanent loss without doing, doing yield farming all the time. I think the biggest drawback on this is that if the token is going lose value, then maybe it's a race to the bottom, because then people take out the token to sell, generate impermanent loss protection, and then the protocol themselves have to inject more token to pay this, and then you have more token on the market.
Yeah, so I guess they will like split into two categories. Of one is as before the whitelist pool, so it's on the Bancor project, and the other pools, it can be like a curve factory something. So any team can create a new pool if they're willing to provide their own tokens for the protection.
Yes, I guess so. Yeah, that's the end goal, I guess. Yeah, this is from my side. I don't know if there are questions from. Are there any questions or addition to this?
I think you pointed this out, but eventually when this goes live, which is, I think it's expected in the coming weeks. Like I think it's before January potentially, but we'll have to check with Nate and the team.
And Nate, he told me it's in January. I don't know.
Oh,
maybe they speed it up.
No.
I talked to him like 2 weeks ago. So before.
Yeah. No. That's that or February then if they said January. I mean, one of the biggest benefits here, just to re-highlight, is so I've used these single-sided LPs for the past year, but the problem is that I've always had to go back and I haven't done this for most of those LPs. I would have to claim the BNT rewards or in the future here, I guess if you thought about me having to claim, if I deposit Ether, having to claim like the additional rewards in Ether, here in this V3, everything auto compounds. And so it's just awesome. It means it's like deposit into the LP, set it and forget it, allow everything to continue to earn more. I do think there will be more competition in these LPs, which will probably cause, because the gas will be less and because they've simplified the fact that you can deposit BNT into the Omni pool across all the LPs. But long story short, this is a great way to earn yield denominated in the token that you deposit, and not have to continuously eat away at profits by spending gas. So it's a killer product, and and I say that too. I'm not a Bancor investor. I do have a little BNT now just because I've earned it obviously as an LP as a reward, but I've just been amazed by what they've tried to innovate on to improve AMMs. So
they come a long way. Basically, they had at the start they had a lot of problems. They have been hacked like more than once, basically, but now it looks like they fixed it.
Yeah, now they've got, and credit to Nate Heineman there. He is he's just a force to reckon with. The one thing to call out here too, or just another like sort of like risk is, so the single-sided LPs do depend on, in the past, and they'll continue to depend on this, that, you know, we're trying to compensate folks for impermanent loss. And so there's always been speculated that there's a hit that BNT holders take, but that's been incorrect for the past year because the volumes have increased so much on Bancor that, you know, the math has worked out. Like BNT holders ultimately, especially those who are staking, should be earning more. But anyways, I think one of the fears is, and this isn't from the core team, I think this is just myself and like other users, we don't know what this looks like in a bear market. And the team obviously has a lot of math to say that it will work, but worth noting that there is a future here that we're just not totally certain of. I'm not worried the whole thing's gonna like implode, but I am concerned whether the impermanent loss protection will work as well. So
yeah, that's nobody. You know, they had like they pushed like this 2 weeks ago. They pushed like an analysis of Uniswap 3.3, you know, and told everyone, yeah, most of the people taking impermanent loss and are not in the profit. And I'm not sure if they're going to hit 2, you know, in the future, because nobody knows basically.
And it's fair to I think if you look just at the trading fees, of course, there are many people that would have been better off just holding a token or holding the tokens that are in their Uniswap V3 LP. But with the added farming rewards, obviously I think there are more than what was shared there that have done well. And but that's going to change again in a bear market. We have lived with Uniswap through a bear market, and you know, there's a lot of LPs that can tell stories about just how wrecked they got. You know, it was pretty bad until the Uni airdrop for some of those people. I remember hearing stories of like, you know, stories that like maybe they're almost back to break even. But yeah, I am very excited for Bancor V3. It really, they listened to what users complained about and they tried to solve for that. And I think that's what this DAO is about, is being open to those new farming opportunities. So I think Bancor could be a real like black hole for liquidity. Also too, Bancor will benefit from, there's like new liquidity directors like Tokamak, and Tokamak will be directing liquidity to Bancor as far as I know. So that was one project, which, full disclosure, I am invested through 4RC in Tokamak. But there was talk about whether there was like a competition there, and I don't see it that way. I think that Tokamak is aiming to redirect liquidity to the likes of Bancor. So I think that Bancor is going to ultimately benefit from that added liquidity as well.
Yeah, the thing I'm waiting for is a multi-chain strategy, you know, basically, because somehow I have the feeling it's also a brand problem, maybe, you know, because now, of course, everyone knows Bancor and they have like a brand for the old people who know them. But on the new chains, they're not present. And somehow I have the feeling they missed like an opportunity, maybe not even, you know, even to get a lot of TVL, but also more brand-wise, because the impermanent loss protection is such a big seller, basically, you know. But we will
really
see.
Does. It feels like there's a big opportunity for them and for really anyone. But Uniswap looks like it's just about to deploy. Well, not just about to, but there's a proposal that would put liquidity mining incentives for Uniswap, I think, on Arbitrum and Optimism. And that's been like long in coming. Actually, sorry, I think it's.
Do you think it has a chance?
I hope so. I mean, I don't know what we're doing with there's a liquid treasury of like $4.5 billion in Uni, And you know, I'm very I am a uni holder, so disclosing that. But I just I want to see those I want to see that treasury like used. But I also am like
Yeah, of course.
very confident. Like now, whenever that bear market comes, the treasury is so enormous. Like, I mean, we could have. You know, I don't want
Yeah,
this
they
to happen.
have to use it basically.
Yeah, yeah,
They
yeah.
need to use it because it's just it's an unused force. You know. Yeah, we
Yeah.
see. You know, the games that Curve now starts to do their eating into
True.
Uniswap's territory with their new pools. You know, basically. So it looks like another action from Uniswap. You know, that's my main concern. They're always, for me, it looks a little bit like Uniswap is always reacting to what's going on, and they don't not tech-wise, but now if they restart, incentivize stuff, so they're just reacting to other, so they're not leading this, but somehow they could lead this. But yeah,
I am still excited for what Uniswap built with V3. I knew it was a little bit ahead of its time, and different. I think that what Bancor is releasing is ahead of others, but it's oriented to the average DeFi user, whereas like Uniswap V3 is really allowing, like, I think, larger money to be more efficient with their capital as market makers. So
exactly.
this is good. This is why I think the Bancor V3, and we'll probably be using Uniswap V3 strategies as well in the future, but this Bancor V3 seems ideal for us with Aladdin DAO.
Okay, so we are over the hour, and I know last remarks, or I will close the call. Yeah, thank you for everyone joining this. And again, the next call will be 1 hour later. And the reason is that the two people giving in the call, that is Adam Patel and Sanil, they live in the West Coast, and so they can, it's a decent time for them to do it. So next week, we meet us again 1 hour later, and then, it's almost Christmas, we will see. Thank you for joining, everyone. See you next week.
Thanks, Martin.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Ciao.
Guys.
Tschüss. Ciao.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye, guys. Bye, Sherilyn.
Everyone,
Thank you. Bye.